Hello and good afternoon, everybody. I hope that you're enjoying the agenda so far at Wolf Summit 13th edition. Today I have Shalini Khemka with me for a fireside chat. Our topic of conversation is going to be Been There and Done It, Learning from Your Fellow Entrepreneur. Shalini is the founder and CEO of E2E Exchange. She's also a deal maker at the Global Entrepreneur Programme for the Department of International Trade. E2E is a community and network of 24,000 entrepreneurs, investors, non-executive directors and SMEs. So great to have you with you, Shalini, and as always, a pleasure to see you.
Mike, it's a huge pleasure to see you, and thank you very much for having me. And may I congratulate you on the Wolf Summit and the summit today. I know you've got a great audience, and I've been looking at the lineup of speakers, the VCs, investors. So really well done, and I'm looking forward to having a chat with you.
Thanks a lot, Shalini, and yeah, I'm very much looking forward to 8 p.m. tomorrow when we can safely hang up our gloves and mission accomplished. You know.
Too much Zoom, eh?
Yeah, so actually that's a good starting point. So you just mentioned that you was in the Tech Rocket Ship Awards
That's
for 4
correct.
hours. Okay.
Yes, it was. Yeah, it started at so 10:30 a.m. this morning. It just finished very few minutes ago. It was the grand finale of the European Tech Rocket Ship, which is being run by the Department of International Trade. So it was really nice to see and very impressive to see the quality of companies coming from Europe. And so 8 were on the shortlist, and myself, Lord Grimstone, Priya Guha, and Anthony, who is, I think, the Chief Technology Officer for British Airways, we were judging.
Wonderful, wonderful. So after the, let's touch on the topic of the Zoom meetings, because I'm sure, just like myself, you know, most days on an average, how many hours do you spend, in front of the screen?
The honest answer,
yeah,
probably about, if I'm honest, between 8 to 12 hours a day.
Yeah, and I, exactly the same for me. And I've actually developed my own, routine now, whereby on every Wednesday without fail, obviously, work schedule depending, I make an active effort of trying to take the whole day off. I go and pick my kid up early from kindergarten, take him swimming or to the park. And I've found, on the mental health side of things, it's been really helpful. So I personally, I see a huge correlation between, the COVID scenario and so much time in front of the screen, and the need to, take a bit of me time out.
Absolutely. I have to say, I've probably taken a leaf from your book. I try and do it on a Friday, that I do less meetings online, and I use the time a little bit more to get through my inbox and my to-do lists. And for me, if I don't do my daily exercise, which isn't really a lot of exercise, but it's a walking, I'm lucky I live near Hyde Park. So it's my sanctuary. Every day, every morning, I'm out doing one lap of Hyde Park as fast as I can. So I'm not built as a runner, but I try and do a fast power walk, and I find that that just sets me up properly for the day in the mornings.
Wonderful. And do you, as part of the E2E network, have you seen much debate around this topic from your members? I mean, is there like almost, has it turned into a support group for each other?
It has, very much so. And actually a lot of, we run roughly 50 events online per year now, 45 to 50. And there is a huge common theme around mental health. And I think this whole COVID situation, unfortunately, it has exacerbated what might be lying underneath, is coming out a little bit more for a lot of entrepreneurs and people in general. So it's a common theme around what are the different strategies and tactics that everyone has their own way of relaxing. But I think we're all trying to tell each other that it's very, very important to take a bit of time out, so that you can have time to think and breathe and take care of yourself, because if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of our teams, and therefore we're not productive. So it's a very big topic, not just mental health actually, Michael. It's also around exercise and about for a lot of our members, homeschooling. The UK is still in lockdown. And the schools are now open, but until recently they weren't. So this was another big topic of conversation of how to manage things.
Yeah, absolutely, Shalini. And as you know full well yourself, but a lot of the viewers probably won't be familiar with my background, but I spent almost 12 years in the oil and gas industry working as a saturation diver. And I can promise you, I would swap it all out to swap the 12 years in the offshore industry for the past 12 months. It's been such a turbulent and challenging, but at the same time rewarding. No,
I would agree. I think also on the positive side, I think what we've seen is a lot of the companies that we deal with, they have pivoted and they've done things that they may not have ever done before or thought of. And by having that little bit more time where you're not traveling, you're having that time to pivot your businesses. And I mean, I can talk about our own experience. We were very much UK based prior to COVID. Now we have people coming to to ask for our services, which is essentially we look at the challenges of scale-up founders and try and connect them. We're like a Match.com for entrepreneurship. We're a matchmaker for business. And I've found that a lot of the businesses have been able to pivot. And for us, we've got people coming now from about 45 different countries from around the world. Whereas prior to COVID, if you'd asked me how to operate Hopin, Zoom, or any of the online technologies, I wouldn't have had a clue. So it's been very, very productive as well in many ways. And some of the tech companies that we're dealing with, they have really accelerated.
Yeah, indeed. And I would guess that E2E is mainly composed of tech companies on the whole, yeah?
Yeah, we have a lot of tech companies. We also have manufacturing and all sorts of different sectors. I was just reflecting on the 5th of March last year, we did a physical event, and that was our last physical event with a gentleman called Nick Robertson, OBE. He founded ASOS, and he's recently gone onto the high street. So, he's taken a tech business and he's bought a lot of the high street companies, retail companies that haven't been performing as well as a result of COVID. And his business has just rocketed. But combination of tech and actually now buying up the physical stores and looking at hybrid models of omni-channel retailing.
And when it comes to your background in trade finance, do you still have your finger on the pulse there with old friends and colleagues? What's the impact been in that industry, so to speak?
Yeah, so a very good question, actually, Michael. So there's two challenges that we've had in the UK. One has been Brexit and the other one has been COVID. So in terms of my background, I was sitting on the board of UK Export Finance until recently. Now I'm on the supervisory committee for market finance. And we are seeing that more and more companies are actually pushing exporting, because, especially small businesses, because they're more digital, they're more aware of international opportunities because they've had the time to think. Having said that, you kind of couple that with the difficulties brought on by Brexit, which is you have to understand the new rules and regulations and changes of tariffs depending on where you're sourcing your products from. So it's been a mixed reaction, positive because of the international digital ways of approaching new clients, but difficulties if you're dealing with Europe in terms of Brexit.
And in terms of the UK as a destination for early stage startups and scale-ups, do you feel that COVID has made it more attractive, or do you think there's going to be more reluctance, indeed because of COVID, but also because of Brexit?
I think that actually COVID has made the UK a lot more attractive. I'm hugely impressed with the way that in a short period of time that for example, Innovate UK, they have increased the volume of grants that they're giving to give support to SMEs. One of the things that we as E2E asked for was for the government to look at fast-tracking R&D tax credits, and what might have taken sort of 3 months to 4 months before is being done much more quickly. So if you make an application for an R&D tax credits, despite the difficulties that of working from home, the government has fast-tracked that. They've introduced new things like the bounce back loan, the C-bills. So as a deal maker, actually what I'm saying to a lot of the international businesses is this is the time to come to the UK. And it's times when we go through difficulties, that if you are smart in the way that you approach new markets, this is the time to approach new markets. So in terms of government support, from grants to lending through to access, and I've even seen on the Global Entrepreneur Programme, we have ramped up the volume of webinars, seminars, and access. So there's a lot more teaching, getting bank accounts opened. That is even more done more speedily these days. So COVID has improved, I think, opportunities for international businesses who are headquartered here.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. And I do actually genuinely think that, the way that the UK has, the furlough schemes, it's quite an aspirational, rollout that they've carried out. And I actually recall a conversation with yourself probably in Q3 last year when you were heavily involved in the bounce back loans, and your words of advice to me were, Mike, get yourself over to the UK because there's a lot on offer at the moment.
Yes, and the other thing is one of the things that I've been lucky to be involved in, Michael, is something called the Business Action Council. And this is an organisation set up by a gentleman called Maurice Ostro. And what he's done is he's set up really 30 large networks who are all members of the Business Action Council. I've been leading a subcommittee called the Employee Retention Subcommittee. And as a result of that, last summer, the Chancellor took some of the advice, not just by my own subcommittee, but by the country in general, and introduced the Flexi Furlough Scheme. So what's great about the Flexi Furlough Scheme for those companies that are in the UK is that you can have your teams working, you pay pro rata what they're doing, and that Flexi Furlough Scheme is still in situ. So we were very happy that the Chancellor took that advice. The other thing which we're happy about is that we had 2,500 people sign our letter to ask the Chancellor not to increase capital gains tax. So what that message for me, loud and clear, is the UK is the place to set up a business, and the taxes haven't been increased. So for those businesses looking to exit, hopefully that has worked as a massive upside for them.
Definitely, and I mean we're actually broadcasting from one of the UK's biggest success stories in terms of startup, scale up, pre-IPO now, and that's the Hopin platform. So
absolutely, yes. Yeah. Are you seeing that? What's your view on, seeing the businesses in Poland and generally in Europe, what's their feeling around UK's attractiveness?
So I think that from the entrepreneurs that I've spoken to, obviously not so much as I used to because less travel, but there's still a strong appetite, certainly from Central and Eastern European startups that want to take their Series A to the UK. So it's I think it's actually changing quite quickly, and indeed we have the European Innovation Council with us at this event, and you'll be fully aware that they've launched the 10 billion euro fund. So I think it's changing quickly, but certainly there's a big appetite from the scale-ups, particularly from CEE, to maybe base their operations in the UK as well.
Yes, and on the investment side, there's plenty of money here. So, but the businesses that are fundraising, a lot of them are getting decent valuations and large pockets of investment. So, I've actually felt it's a good time to raise investment. Definitely,
I was actually on a call for some internal topics with Seed Legals a few months ago, and they said, I just threw the question out there, how's the market from your perspective? And they said, Mike, it's never busier. And indeed also the likes of Crowdcube and Seedrs from what I've heard, there's a lot of dry powder being thrown around in the UK at the moment.
Yes, I think one of the challenges is it's becoming more and more competitive. That because there's more every day, there's thousands of new companies being set up, and we are trying to encourage our youth also not to be job seekers but job creators. So if you go back to the early 1990s when Estonia went through a huge amount of difficulty, they basically had the digital revolution, and because of the digital revolution, Estonia had more recently one of the highest GDPs in Europe. And I think what I'm seeing in as a result of COVID is the UK and generally the world is becoming much more digital, which should help us grow our companies and increase employment in the long run. But those young people who are seeking jobs, and I don't want to over glamorize entrepreneurship, but it's very, very tough. But if you are the sort of person who's got a business idea and you're thinking you want to set up something, we encourage people to be job creators rather than job seekers, but only if your DNA to that journey.
Very true. It's for any aspiring entrepreneurs, I can assure you that it's not all roses by a long stretch.
Yeah. But what I'm trying to message is that the employment market's going to get more and more difficult, especially when the furlough scheme stops. We might see a ramp up of unemployment, and actually to encourage any young people, 25, 30 to 20s, if you are thinking of setting up a business, it's worth exploring it as long as you've got a great business idea.
Yeah, definitely. And there's nothing better than being your own boss. And the challenges do outweigh themselves with that.
Yeah.
So what's on the horizon for E2E coming up? I know offline you mentioned some virtual events. Have you got anything you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, no, certainly. So we've got, for example, tomorrow night we're doing a pitching event where one of our companies, which is Profit Track number 9, I believe. It's called Vashi. We're doing a fundraising. It's a 45 million fundraise, but the minimum checks are around £25,000. So we're doing a fundraising event for Vashi. The following week we have Lord Ed Vaizey in conversation with myself and a gentleman called Will Page. Will Page was the former chief economist of Spotify, and a friend of mine called Ralph Stallman. He's one of the global gurus in mobile technologies. So that's on the 30th of March. And then we've got a lineup of different events, but one of our biggest things that we're doing this year is we're taking a leaf from your book, Michael. We are developing our own technology, which is like a dating agency for business, so that irrespective of where you are in the world, whatever time of day it is, if you want to connect to somebody else, whether it's an entrepreneur, a corporate, an investor, a NED or a mentor, that platform should be launched later this year. So evolution in tech is also part of E2E's growth. We did our first fundraising round just before COVID hit last year, and so that fundraising round was for us to develop our technology and to take our business to the next stage to support people.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
So what you're telling me is that by the time we get to Wolf Summit 14 in October, there's a good chance your platform could be up and running.
God willing, everything being good, yes, I'm hopeful that we should have a platform that we can launch to help founders of businesses, irrespective of whether they're startup, scale up, or established. And again, similar to some of the learnings that we've had from yourselves, we believe my whole view on life is turning knowledge into wisdom as fast as possible, and knowledge is the elixir of life. So having a lot of good content through these kinds of channels, chatting is something we're working on. So we want to have a one-stop shop where wherever you are in the world, you can get connected quickly to people like yourself.
Excellent, Shalini. So That brings us nicely to the end. So just as a parting gift, have you got just one sentence, a quick tip to any entrepreneurs that are watching this?
Yes, I think the couple of things, if I may, is if you have got a business that it's an early stage business, it's all about the execution and being very, very organized and having your foundations, like building a house. Working on the foundations before you do anything else is absolutely critical. And in terms of life, not to take it too seriously, like to take our time out, manage our health, and have some fun and enjoy the journey, because as they say, it takes 20 years to build an overnight success, so we've got to enjoy every single day. And I also believe very much in giving. As you meet people on the Wolf Summit, it's not necessarily about what you can get from it. It's also very much about what you can give to someone else. And I think in terms of one of the things I like to celebrate is building relationships. And the best way, in my view, of building relationships is seeing how you can add value to someone else's personal aspirations.
Super, very, very wise words, Shalini. Thanks for that. And just a quick tip from myself: always make the effort to take your foot off the gas. Feel your own body, feel your state of mind. Make the time for yourself, and remember, every day can be a blank canvas. So, on that note, I will. Lovely. Thanks a lot, Shalini.
Lovely to see you, Michael. Thank you.
See ya. Bye-bye.